resolution, U.S. federal government should legalize euthanasia. Definitions: according to Medical Dictionary, which defines euthanasia as the act or practice of ending the life of a person or animal having a terminal illness or a medical condition that causes suffering perceived as incompatible with an acceptable quality of life, as by lethal injection or the suspension of certain medical treatments. Terminally ill, an advanced stage of a disease with an unfavorable prognosis and no known cure. Judging criteria: if today we can prove that legalizing euthanasia will reduce physical suffering and save money, we should win this round. Background: up to now, euthanasia has been one of the most heated debates. By early 2016, euthanasia, or called assisted suicide, were permitted in Oregon, Washington, Vermont, and California, Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg, and Colombia. So the harms: the status quo makes people with terminal illness suffer physically. According to Journal of Rehabilitation Research and Development, 2007, it states severe pain is highly prevalent, with rates of 40% to 70% in patients with advanced cancer, liver disease, heart failure, human immune deficiency virus, and renal failure. Pain was associated with orthopedic and infectious conditions, falls, cardiac, and gastrointestinal disease. Patients with congestive heart failure who died with a year of hospitalization, the prevalence of pain and shortness of breath increased over time. Harm 2. The status quo causes tremendous medical cost. American Journal of Public Health, issued 2015 December, states a disproportionate share is spent at the end of life. 30% of medical expenditures are attributable to the 5% of beneficiaries who die each year. About 1/3 of expenditures in the last year of life is spent in the last month. The study also found that no matter how much money is used during the last year or month, if the person is sick enough, the effort will only make things worse. A lot of the money being spent is not only not helping, it is making that patient endure more bad experiences on a daily basis. The patient's quality of life is being sacrificed by increasing the cost of death. Inherency. Right now, due to the status quo, we cannot stop physical harms, the physical suffering. Our plan is to legalize euthanasia only for people with terminal illness, not for everyone. How to solve it? There are 3 premises. First and foremost, require the patient in lucid, sober condition. It is their will to ask for euthanasia, not anyone else. Second, to require the approval for 2 doctors. They have to assess the situation and how serious their condition is and how much time is left. And last, to get the agreement from the family members. Solvency. The advantage. First, legalizing euthanasia will eliminate the physical harms, the physical pain. People's Magazine reported Bessie Davis, a 41-year-old Californian artist with ALS, which is also called Lou Gehrig's, a disease that will make people lose conscious or functionality about muscles. And so she held a euthanasia party celebrating her decision to end her life. So family, friends, and former lovers attend her party. It is kind of like living memorial service. She just smiling and say goodbye to all the friends she loves, and surrounded by all her artworks. Advantage 2, legalizing euthanasia will save money. According to American Journal of Public Health, reported that in 2011, among those with the highest cost, 11% were there in their last year of life, and approximately 13% of the 1.6 trillion spent on personal care costs in the United States was devoted to care of individuals in their last year of life. If we do the math, so that is about $205 billion. And with that amount of money, we can save real problems such as education, public infrastructure, medical care. Use the money for the future, but not for those people who inevitably died. Conclusion. Today, I've talked about the harms of the status quo, the reasons to change, and benefits of the new plan. Those who are suffering from endless pain due to the incurable disease deserve the same control over their own death. Instead of dying in meaningless care and among strangers, people should be able to end their lives when they are ready, surrounded by those they love. I formed the resolution. U.S. federal government should legalize euthanasia.
Okay, in your intro, you claim that you'd like to administer euthanasia by lethal injection or the suspension of certain medical treatments. Do you know if the lethal injections cause pain?
No, lethal injection is like a shot, so it's very minor compared to the physical pain.
Okay, and wouldn't the suspension of medical treatment further cause suffering? Because I'm sure they won't die instantly. They would have to die like progressively.
So as far as I know, this like Betty Davis, I mentioned the case. She just drank cocktail. She drank it and died like 4 hours later, surrounded by the nurse and friend.
Okay. And how much is a life worth to you?
Pardon?
How much is a life worth to you? Can you put a price tag on it, like a price?
The price. There's no measurement about the life value. So I'm saying that they spend great life, most of the part, just very minor end of their lives, and it's just only suffering left. There's no meaning.
Okay, and why only the approval of 2 doctors? Why can't it be more?
So I mean, just one can be biased, 2 is better. And so this is due to previous cases, like some bad cases in Netherlands. So I think 2 combined, 2 always better than 1.
And what if they have no family members to sign off?
I think, as I mentioned, first and foremost is their will. So it's the patient, him or herself, decide it's their will.
But if it's their will, but you have these 3 restrictions in order to go through with it, and they have no family members, how will it continue? How will their
I think there's an exception for every case. For certain cases, it's for discussion. If there is no family left, I think it totally depends on the patient himself or herself. If they are very conscious, to let them decide.
Thank you.
Thank you.
6 minutes.
I'm here to negate the resolution that the U.S. federal government should legalize euthanasia. I wanted to change the judging criteria. I think if the AF can prove that legalizing euthanasia is the best option for those who are terminally ill, then they should win this round. So I will first give a very brief background, then I'll refute the AF and provide my own disadvantage and harms. So the Hippocratic Oath is one of the oldest binding documents in history. The oath was written and is held sacred by physicians to treat the ill to the best of one's ability. Refute 1. The Netherlands is a good example of why we should not legalize euthanasia. According to lifenews.com 2012, in only 23 years, Dutch doctors have gone from being permitted to killing terminally ill who ask for it, to killing chronically ill who ask for it, to killing newborn babies because they have birth defects, even though by definition they cannot ask for it. Dutch doctors have also engaged in involuntary euthanasia without significant legal consequences, even though such activity is officially prohibited. Since the AF wants to set similar laws to those in the Netherlands, there's a good chance patients and doctors will abuse the access to assisted suicide like those in the Netherlands. The article goes on to say in a new column about the recent decision by a court in Canada to strike down on Canadian laws against assisted suicide, an attorney, Anne McTavish, says lessons of the Netherlands should be instructive for any nation looking to legalize the grisly practice. We do not need to speculate. The Netherlands have already gone down the slippery slope and provided grisly statistics, and that should stop us from going down the same path. Refute 2. Those who claim to be in unbearable pain to the point where they would want to die are not getting the right medical attention. The AF says right now, due to the status quo, we cannot stop physical suffering. However, that is not true. In a 2012 article from NewYorkRightToLife.org, it states, instead, patients are not getting adequate medical care and should be provided with up-to-date means of pain. Even Dr. Peter Admiral, a leader of a successful movement to legalize direct killing in the Netherlands, has publicly observed that pain is never an adequate justification for euthanasia in light of the current medical techniques that can manage pain in virtually all circumstances. Refute 3. Are medical costs worth taking someone's life? An article from all.org states, in sum, it is vitally important to understand that everyone's most basic right, the right to life, is in jeopardy when our law and collective morality no longer view all persons as equally worthy to life, solely on the basis of our common humanity. Not only is it the right thing to do, it is in our own best interest to protect and cherish weak and vulnerable members of our human family. Medical costs should not affect this. Your own life and the life of your family members should be a priority, and money should not affect that. Disadvantage. If euthanasia is legalized, medical advances and the desire to develop treatments for fatal illness will no longer need to exist. Medical research is essential for medicine to advance further. When the focus changes from curing the condition to killing the individual with the condition, the whole process is threatened. By letting people choose death, there will be no need to continue medical research to cure what are right now known as incurable treatments. Harms. If the U.S. federal government legalizes euthanasia, there is a good chance people will abuse it or find a way around the laws. In today's society, many people suffer from minor to severe mental illness. It would be very difficult to decide and regulate who would be qualified to make the decision. Also, by allowing this, it could put pressure on those who might not want to participate in assisted suicide to feel obligated because the medical bill is brought upon their family. If we keep the status quo, then people will not have to be put in these types of situations. Yes, people suffer from terminal illness. However, we should let everyone's individual bodies determine when their life should end, not a deadly drug. Conclusion. I've repeatedly asked points with reasonable responses as to why the U.S. federal government should not legalize euthanasia. It is not worth the risk of the patients, doctors, or family members abusing the system, and will also affect medical research. Doctors should not be able to purposely kill a human. It is wrongful, and the United States should not condone assisted suicide.
Really?
You said like Netherlands case, you show that doctors misuse euthanasia, right?
Yeah.
From the beginning. So what about sources and what year is published?
That was from lifenews.com and published in 2012.
2012, right? And you said like babies were killed, right? In the Indonesia method, you said babies, right? But not adults.
No, I said terminally ill who asked for it, chronically ill who asked for it, and newborn babies.
Yeah, you said newborn babies. So they are not very conscious. They cannot speak for their ones.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. And
Sorry, what?
you mentioned newborn babies, right?
Yeah,
And how many newborn babies were killed in this way?
I don't have the statistics.
Okay, so you said like do you admit the fact that terminal illnesses cause a lot of pain, physical pain?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you admit the fact that the terminal illness causes a lot of pain?
I think it depends on the person's condition.
And you said like a lot of people choose euthanasia due to their depression, right?
I didn't say that.
You didn't say that?
That a lot of people use euthanasia because of depression.
You said like very.
I said it's possible.
it's possible, but
Yeah,
that's
I don't-
not 100% sure, right?
No, I didn't say that.
And you mentioned like it's due to minor physical harm. You mentioned that.
Are you talking about from from the Netherlands or just in general?
You in the last part of your speech, you mentioned that the very minor physical harms, very minor physical pain.
I said if we do legalize it, then it's possible that people will abuse it because people do have minor to severe mental illness.
Do you notice my speech? I said only for physical harm.
What?
I mentioned euthanasia is conditional only for that physical pain suffered.
Yeah, I'm saying like people with terminal illnesses could also have minor to severe mental illness.
Okay.
All right, thank you. QAC.
Hi, I'm Tay Chavez, and I'm here to affirm the resolution that the USFG should legalize euthanasia. So, roadmap. First, I will refute my opponent's refutations in order, and then I will continue adding on to my partner's harms. The first refutation was that the Netherlands already legalized it, and it ended up failing. But the crisis that happened in Netherlands wasn't due to the legalization. It was due to their lack of restrictions and government watch over this new law. In the article, Forced Exit, Wesley J. Smith stated, in only 23 years, Dutch doctors have gone from permitting to killing the terminally ill who asked for it to killing the chronically ill who asked for it to killing new babies, like my opponent has said. The Netherlands continue to loosen their restrictions, which enabled them to do this. But unlike our plan, we will have many restrictions so that this will never happen. The Netherlands also failed on holding this basic law in place. In a 2012 article, Thousands in Netherlands Die Without Consent, Since Euthanasia by Stephen Ertlet in Life News stated that 1,040 people died when doctors euthanized them without their knowledge or consent, which shows that the government didn't have a handle on the issue. That is basically murder, and basically the government wasn't keeping a good eye on them. And due to this article also stated that doctors later admitted that they had underreported euthanasia cases, which shows the lack of organization within their hospitals and their government. My opponent's second refutation was that those who claim to be in pain are not getting the right medical treatment. For example, cancer patients experience pain due to their actual cancer and their treatment. According to the Cancer Research Centre UK, most cancer pain is caused by the tumor pressing on bones, nerves, or other organs in the body. Sometimes pain is due to your cancer treatment. For example, some chemotherapy drugs can cause numbness and tingling in your hands and feet, or they may cause a burning sensation at the spot where you have the injection. Radiotherapy can cause skin redness and irritation. The research center also stated cancer pain can be acute or chronic. Acute pain is due to damage caused by an injury and tends to only last a short time. For example, having an operation can cause acute pain. Chronic pain is due to changes in the nerves. Nerve changes may be due to cancer pressing on nerves or due to chemicals produced by a tumor. It can also be caused by nerve changes due to cancer treatment. Chronic pain continues long after the injury or treatment is over and can range from mild to severe. It can be there all the time. Sometimes pain can come on quickly. For example, when you have a dressing change or move around, this type of pain is called incident pain. Chronic pain is also called persistent pain. So due to the chronic pain, this will last for maybe forever in the patient's lifetime until they die. That is no way of living, and I don't think anyone would want to live like that. My opponent's third refutation asked if medical costs are worth purposely taking someone's life, which is not the main point of our topic, but only an advantage. By legalizing euthanasia, we will reduce physical suffering, and that is more than enough reason to legalize it. Continuing on my partner's contentions, the harms are that people are going through physical and mental pain throughout their remaining lifespan. Even the doctors who take care of the terminally ill has come to the conclusion that they would rather die of going through the agonizing pain of a terminally ill patient. In an article by Dr. Martin Skirt titled "Why Most Doctors Like Me Would Rather Die Than Endure the Pain of Treatment We Inflict on Others for Terminal Illnesses," he stated, "Like most doctors, I understand that much of the care we offer patients who have serious, life-threatening illnesses is ultimately futile. Worse, it can involve many months of grueling treatment that might possibly extend the length of one's life only for a few months, but do nothing for its quality. But while we give that care to patients, the vast majority of doctors I know would not want this for themselves. Even doctors who are professional and have vast amount of knowledge in this medical field say they wouldn't want to go through the path of a terminally ill patient. In the article, he interviewed Dr. Ken Murray, who is a professor of family medicine at USC. If a patient suffers from severe illness, old age, or a terminal disease, the odds of a good outcome from CPR are infinitesimal, while the odds of suffering are overwhelming. Almost all medical professionals have seen what we call futile care being performed on people. Murray continued, that's when doctors bring the cutting edge of technology to bear on a grievously ill person near the end of life. The patient will get cut open, performed with tubes, hooked up to machines, and assaulted with drugs. I cannot count the number of times that physicians have told me, promise me, if you find me like this, you'll kill me. People who, the doctors who take care of these terminally ill patients, even they would want to go through the trauma that terminally ill patients have to go through. They're the ones with the vastest knowledge, so shouldn't we listen to them? This shows just how painful and unlivable conditions terminally ill patients have to go through. Would you want to live like this? Would anyone? Suicide and euthanasia have the same concept, the choice to die. They are practically the same thing, while suicide is legal and euthanasia is not. Overall, I refuted all my opponent's refutations and so that euthanasia will save the pain and misery terminally ill patients have to go through and give control back in their lives. Also, our plan shows that it will save the painful months that terminally ill people have to go through. They will not be able to enjoy life due to their terminally illness, and so on forth, they will be in pain. Once again, I am here to affirm the resolution that the USFG should legalize euthanasia.
You said that you guys are going to have many restrictions with your plan.
Yes.
Can you explain those to me, what the restrictions would be?
Yes, so basically, we copied some of the original laws put in place by the other states such as California and Oregon and Washington. So they have 2 doctors that have to be signed off on the request of the patient, and then they would have to be terminally ill. And then they would have to also show chronic pain and not much will to live. And then thirdly, basic restrictions. And they would also have to be in a sober condition and willing to consent. And also, if they do have family available, they would also have to write up on it.
Okay, so if one doctor said no, could they go around and find a doctor until they found a doctor that would approve them?
They'd have to find one in the U.S. that
Okay.
have the same criteria as all the other states.
And when you say family member, so like what if a husband says no, but like the siblings say it's okay? What would happen then?
The family would only come in when they wouldn't be able to like consent, like as if they already have that already, as in such as brain dead.
So if they're brain dead, how would they have the right to choose if they want to be?
It's already the law already, but usually the family would step in if they cannot.
Okay, is there a minimum age?
18.
And you said something about mental pain in your argument? You said physical and mental pain? It's towards the beginning.
Was that in the second refutation?
Okay, I'm here to refute the resolution that the USFG should legalize euthanasia. My contention 1, that the terminally ill are suffering or they're prolonging their suffering. The argument that the people with terminal diseases are basically forced to suffer due to the federal illegality of euthanasia is an argument that is seemingly justified. Yet there are studies such as one done in 1990 in Holland about the prevalence of involuntary euthanasia of terminally ill patients, which hinders the black and white argument that the AF is bringing up. According to Remlich report, a study by Professor J. Remlich, Attorney General of the High Council of the Netherlands, who headed the study committee, 1,040 people, an average 3 people per day, died from involuntary euthanasia, meaning that doctors actively killed these patients without their patients' knowledge or consent. 14% of these patients were fully competent. 17% had never given any indication that they would want their lives taken. And in 8% of the cases, doctors performed involuntary euthanasia despite the fact that they believed that alternative options were available. And the AF brings up that this won't happen in the US. However, if it's legal across the nation, how can they be 100% sure? And just because the study is done in 1990 doesn't make it old or anything, because no matter what, there will always be terminally ill, and it's still relevant today. My subpoint 2, the cost. Life is priceless. Just because a person is terminally ill doesn't mean that we should think about terminating them because it saves lives or helps their illness. All lives are important, even those who are terminally ill, from the first day to the last. Morally, it's not right and justifiable to put a price tag on someone even if they are terminally ill. My contention 2, refuting their plan. Because it is impossible to stop all physical pain, it doesn't entail us just to turn to euthanasia because of that. We can do that. What we can do instead of invest our money into hospices and put our focus there if we really want to put the comfort and well-being of the terminally ill as our priority. According to the Mayo Foundation for Medical Education and Research 2016, hospice care services are provided by a team of healthcare professionals who maximize comfort for a person who is terminally ill by reducing pain and addressing physical, psychological, and spiritual needs. To help families, hospice care also provides counseling, respite care, and practical support, unlike other medical care. The focus of the hospice isn't to cure the underlying disease. The goal of the hospice is to support the highest quality of life possible for whatever time remains. My contention 3, the legality of the euthanasia doesn't end physical suffering completely. The answer to illness isn't to speed up the process and offer physician-assisted suicide. In many of these cases, as I mentioned before, those who have died did not give full consent, and at an average of 3 people per day. If we want to actually care for our terminally ill, we need to look at hospices to take care of our dying patients. And to address their advantages that they end physical suffering, terminally ill patients are not in the right state of mind either. In a study by the Journal of American Medical Association 2001, they found that for those who did consider suicide, the biggest factors were depression and feeling burdensome to their families and pain. And to address their advantage to their cost, I want to say it again, life is priceless. Just because it's costing a lot of money to take care of them in their last years, months, or days, doesn't mean we should consider the option of suicide because of that. And I would like to bring up a disadvantage, as I recently mentioned from the Remlich report, there are large chances that innocents who do not want euthanasia will die. And I would like to state again that just because some of my evidence is 10 years or older doesn't make it not relevant to today, because there will always be, again, terminally ill, and it's pretty apparent that innocents will die. And yeah, and that's why I negate the resolution.
So you said the Attorney General stated that, can you recite the quote that the Attorney General said of the Netherlands?
Yeah, 1,040 people at an average of 3 people per day died from involuntary euthanasia.
Would you say that the Netherlands had a good control of the situation?
Well, they had pretty strict laws, or pretty, like, I don't know how to say it, but their laws are clear. Like, if the patient is terminally ill and they give their consent.
If their laws were so clear, why did they keep on renewing their restrictions? And if it was so clear, as you say, why did so many people die involuntarily?
Probably just because the general mishandling of it, and for the whole the renewing of the restrictions, it's probably, well, I can't say for sure because I don't know the exact every exact law. However, it just as time goes on, there's new things, new exceptions, and things get added on to laws.
Okay, and you said put money into hospice care. How much money are you exactly talking about?
Well, I don't know an exact amount. However, if the priority of the well-being of the terminally ill is really your main concern, then it doesn't matter the cost.
But you say it doesn't matter the cost, but where would this money be coming from? Would it be coming from the patients or taxes?
Taxes.
And would all terminally people go here?
Yeah, I would say so, unless they state otherwise. Unless they prefer the environment of the hospital, they can have the option to go to hospice.
And you say highest quality. What exactly is the highest quality? Would they be except for pain? Would they physically cure all the pain?
You can answer if you want.
Well, the hospice's duty is to lessen the pain, so they would administer drugs if they would like them to, so that can lessen the pain. It won't completely eliminate it, but it will lessen the pain for as long as they live, and it provides much more other services than that.
Thank you. One NR.
The NIG is winning because the act says that they will have many restrictions, and it'll be a lot different than the Netherlands, although they only gave us 3 restrictions, and one of them I feel like would be really easy to get around if you could find doctors that would approve you anywhere in the United States, which I'm sure that would not be that hard. You could be approved for euthanasia. They also contradict themselves when they say physical and mental pain, but also say being in a sober state. And my partner and I have gave options like hospice care and better medical care as options to assisted suicide. And yeah.
Yes, 3. 1 second, please. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm In. So our opponents say like something bad about Netherlands' practice of euthanasia, and our plan is actually a conditional euthanasia. They mentioned that so like over 1,000 people they were voluntarily killed in euthanasia. We emphasize that our plan based on the very crucial fact it is patients' will, right? It's not against their will. My understanding about involuntary means against one's will, and so lots of babies, newborn babies, were killed in Netherlands. Nothing like that will happen in USA because I said our standard is like at least 18-year adults, and they should show their sober condition, and it's their last will at least, and so my understanding that they dropped the argument. This is their totality, so they didn't understand our condition first, and another fact is that like the opponents like cite something from 2001 sources. That is really outdated. Our plan, our sources is about like 2015 or 2011. I think their sources are old-fashioned and not very updated. And another thing they kept saying is like a lot of people choose euthanasia in Netherlands due to their depression and with very minor physical harms. And our condition is that euthanasia must be practiced based on fact. it is relevant to the terminal illness of in the final stage with very limited time to live. So it's nothing to do with abuse. And so like it's a personal case. It's like I have 4 grandparents who passed away of cancer. I witnessed the last stage of about their lives. So they endure like severe pain, and they suffer from dramatic weight loss from 150 pounds to 80 pounds. They couldn't walk, talk, or take a bath or speak to us. So if you really care about your family and it is their will, please let them die with more dignity and less suffering. And so I mentioned like Bessie Davis, she died like this way with a lot of dignity, with friends surrounding. 4 hours sleeping and died in coma is much better than the months or years suffering. So I'm here to affirm resolution. U.S. federal government should legalize euthanasia. Thank you.
Ready? So I believe the NEG team is winning still. We're winning because they don't address the fact that many patients could also be depressed. They didn't show any evidence for that or anything like the statistics for that. They promise that innocents will not die because of restrictions that they have put up or that they propose, but they're not 100% sure. Mistakes happen or just negligence or personal prejudice. So how are they sure that that won't happen? And I believe, and we also believe that we are on topic when we address that contention. And to address the 2001 observation, it's still relevant. The terminally ill's feelings cannot be outdated whatsoever. What they feel is what they feel, and that's not old information. That can be used today also. And they also dropped the argument that that they can have alternative care at hospices. They didn't properly use anything to go against that. And also the cost argument isn't very strong, I believe, because that they say the cost isn't their priority. However, it shouldn't be brought up since they're stating that it costs too much money in the last months or years of their lives to keep taking care of them. And so that's why I believe the NEG team is winning.
I believe the F is winning because we proved that we would be saving terminally ill patients the pain and suffering throughout the end of their lives. The NEG's alternate suggestions was a hospice care, but stated they would not be able to fully evade the patient's pain. Wouldn't that be the same as a regular hospital and therefore would not be an alternate suggestion? Their main argument was that the legalization already failed in the practice test with the Netherlands, but during the cross-examinations, they admitted that the government didn't have a good handle on it due to the switching of regulations and due to the illegally killing of their citizens. They also said that the reason for a patient to pick euthanization was burdensome to families, and they also included pain in that factor. They admitted the chronic pain is a reason, and the judging criteria was that if legalizing euthanasia would cause a better outcome for patients and saving them from chronic pain, then we would win this round. And that's exactly what we did, because we concluded with professional doctors that they even said that they would not be willing to go through the pain and suffering that terminally ill patients have represented. Therefore, I believe that the app is winning. Thank you.
Yay!
Good job.